Before this episode, we got to go 40 years back to this burning world, and above is Callous Typhon in the Vengeful Spirit. And Typhon, we talk about him, right now he is in the Death Guard, not all nasty. And the lodges that we've talked about before aren't quite at the point that they get real weird later on. So he is just working quietly inside them legions, looking for people who are talented and frustrated and furious at the way things are going, because it's kind of like bad unions, workers' unions. And something perfect happens. So on this ship, Horus is talking to Luther. We haven't talked about Luther in a while, the Dark Angel guy. And he basically humiliated him, because Luther is Grand Master of the Order, and who was basically in charge of Caliban before Lion even showed up as a child, and basically as the Lion left. And he has been told publicly that his place is at home on Caliban. Basically, take care of the planet while the crusade continues on without you. And, that sucks because, Luther wanted to go join the Lion on this crusade. And Horus is like, no, too bad. Sit on your planet and do nothing. And Typhon basically creeps up to him after the thing and says, hey, you are not alone, brother. There are those of us who know what it feels like to feel the displeasure of our Primarch. I have felt harsh words and felt judgment also. Luther doesn't really respond, but Typhon's like, you don't need to say anything. And he puts a little medallion in his hand and says, just hold on to that. We'll love it down. So, now we're going to jump 40 years in the future now. And with the heresy well underway. And we'll continue, and that's where we're going to start today. This episode of Ultra Morons. Me, your host as usual, Lane, joined with
Connor, back again.
Back again for episode possibly 14, but if you count a 0.5 episodes, technically it's 16, but whatever, it doesn't matter. It's all numbers. Anyways, last time we left off, the Imperium Secundus is doing its thing. The Pharaohs just got destroyed, and the Luther left, and Gilliman got told, hey, go find him and come back to Macragge by Sanguinius. So, and Night Lords did their thing, and Curze is out there somewhere.
Wait, sorry, you said Luther left?
No, sorry.
Oh, you mean the Lion?
Lion, sorry,
Okay,
yes.
okay.
Good thing you
I was
corrected
like,
me.
what?
No, Luther is still on Caliban. Sorry.
Okay.
Yes, good thing you corrected me. Luther is still on Caliban. The Lion left and is just doing whatever he does.
Okay.
So, yeah, there's a couple. We're going to be jumping around the timeline a little bit in this episode, just because we're talking about Dark Angels and we're talking about kind of two different plot lines at once. So it's going to be a little, I don't say hard to follow, but
Maybe a little funky.
Yeah, we're telling the same story in two different ways.
Okay.
So you might be like, wait, didn't we just talk about that? Yes, but this is this guy's point of view of the story. Kind of like, it's like a Quentin Tarantino movie. Think of it like that.
Okay.
So the Lion, what has he been doing? He has been doing a methodical sweep of the 500 worlds, system by system, world by world, basically covering a search grid, looking for Curze. And he's done it 13 times already. And he's sitting on his throne, on his ship, and just waiting for Curze to show up. He's like, oh, once you stick your head out, I got you. But he can't find Curze. Curze is just too sneaky. So back on Caliban, about 400 light years away, and that kind of gives you an idea of how big the scale is. So 400 light years basically means it takes 400 years for light to get there.
Right.
So you cannot travel even by light speed to get somewhere because it take you 400 years. And humans don't live that long. Space Marines can, but that's it. So that's why you do warp travel, because then you're basically folding the universe in on itself and teleporting around through the power of the warp, which is super dangerous. Anyways, back on Caliban, Luther is sitting on a small chair next to an empty throne, which is specifically the Lion's throne, which is empty. Okay, and he's just sitting next to it. And it is in Aldruk, and Aldruk is their like castle, fortress, monastery thing. And Luther, every time they have meetings, the guys come in, see the big chair, and they see Luther sit next to it in his little, like, smaller chair. And now, maybe, is it on purpose? Maybe, Luther does kind of keep himself in check, like, I'm not totally in charge here. Who knows? Hard to say. He's waiting for decades now for the Lion to come back home. So, he's been very patient. Another person we're going to talk about is Zahariel. We have covered Zahariel a bit, especially in the Dark Angels episode. He is underground right now, literally on Caliban, and he is a Cypher. We talk about that, and he killed a Calibanite Lion when he discovered his Cypher powers. It was the whole thing. Anyways, we've seen underground right now inside a warp entity that coils out through Caliban's underground like a root system. It is something that is called the Ouroboros, the Conqueror Worm. So there's literally a giant like Jormungandr snake underground on this planet that Zahariel is working with right now, a warp entity. Now, how does that work? We're going to figure it out. So, he spent enough time with Ouroboros that they kind of have a like weird relationship here. Not all warp entities are necessarily bad. A lot are, probably 90% are, but some of them maybe are just weird things that exist in the warp. So to kind of get more in depth about it is even back when Caliban was like a world of ancient forests, great beasts, and all inexplicable phenomena before the Emperor came and like just caught all it down, killed all the beasts, make it into a big city world. There are these people called the Watchers in the Dark. And now the Watchers in the Dark, you're not entirely sure what they are. They're kind of these hooded figures that show up at weird times. Some theories say they're the Cabal. We talk about them, but some say they're just warp people, aliens that kind of like to guide humanity or help humanity in different ways.
Okay.
So, the reason is that Caliban sits on a particularly significant point in the warp. So, like we talked about in one of the other episodes, the warp is a mirror to real space. In Caliban, in warp space, is a very concentrated part of the warp. And that kind of manifests in real space on real Caliban as Ouroboros, this big snake worm thing.
Okay.
And it's basically this entity made of psychic energy that just kind of circles through these tunnels. And they have a relationship, right? And Zahariel can draw power from it. And Ouroboros also uses Zahariel's power as well to kind of work. It's a symbiotic, right? Like Venom in a way, but not like a parasite type thing.
Right.
Now, of course, it's never that simple, right? That there probably is some cost there that we're going to figure out. So, back to the Lion. Back in the Ultramar system. Lion eventually finds evidence of Curze in a system called Zephath. And word bearers and world leaderships are here, have been here, entire cities are leveled, towers built from bodies, basically. It was a massacre here. But he also sees Night Lords have been here too, right? They used the slaughter as building material, bone structures, skin, flags, just real horrendous stuff. And by the time he arrives, they're already gone. The only thing there is these survivors that were hiding somewhere that they just luckily didn't get caught. And they are very happy that these Space Marines show up because they're like, oh, you're going to save us or protect us from if that happens again. And there's this guy, Dark Angel Lieutenant named Haldwin. He's always a little. He's like, all right, relax. We're just doing our jobs. And all of a sudden, the Pharos goes dark, and they are like, well, that's probably bad. But then before they can leave to go investigate, all of a sudden, an energy signature at the southern continent reveals itself by shooting down some Thunderhawks, these little transport planes. And what they realize is that there were some traders that are basically hidden on the planet as kind of a surprise attack right where they shows up. And they say it's going to take too long to get them. They're so dug in this like little bunker thing that we waste our time for us to get them and just work on that. So this guy, Paladin Zavis, calls in the Dreadwing. And the Dreadwing are, I'll get into it here. So there are different types of wings. They're the Deathwing, the Ravenwing, the Firewing, and some others, but this one called the Dreadwing. And the Dreadwing are basically, if somebody says the Dreadwing after you, it's over. You're dead. Okay. They are the most elite killers that the Dark Angels have.
So these are Space Marines.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yes. And they use weapons that don't even worry about what they use. They use basically phosphex, rad weapons, defoliant shells, vortex ordnance that can tear holes in reality itself. Like if somebody was in the Dreadwing after you are, hey, don't worry about it, man. We're cool. Like it's a nightmare. So that's what they do. He says, send the Dreadwing to take care of that little bunker at the bottom so we don't have to waste time here. And their lieutenant is called Ferrith Redloss, called the Dreadbringer. A title like that, yeah, I'm good. So about 1,500 Dreadwing answer Redloss's call, and they form up a line before the fortress. Tanks, infantry all get together and kind of stand there and just wait, completely still, standing there like statues. And then everything addresses the system at once, and the chant starts a whisper and builds. And it is this kind of chant that they have. All over the planet, you just hear, we have come, we are death. It keeps repeating and getting louder and louder and louder over the planet. It's basically this, it is I mean, it is death, right? Like, I don't know how else to explain it. Like, I'm trying to think of like a similar thing. I got nothing. It definitely. I'm trying to think. Yeah, like it's elite force that comes. It's the Ginyu Force. Less goofy though, but if the Ginyu Force, that's why Vegeta was even afraid of the Ginyu Force because like, oh, these guys show up. Oh, that's bad news. So they're doing this and they're hitting their chest plates and building up this chant, and they're just moving across this battlefield, advancing in step, in line, like just a machine of death. And in orbit, their ship called the Intolerant is just starts firing this annihilator cannon, and it's just this bolt of darkness that just like a beam of negative light. The shadow just goes straight down and opens a warp rift 100 meters from Red Loss's own people. And it basically rips open reality and then collapses, basically taking a huge chunk of the Earth with it. And it is this perfectly smooth 10-meter crater. And the Dreadwing accelerates through the gap before the Fortress Guns can even get a lock on them. And it's just a mess, right? Because inside you have World Eaters and 2 Dreadnoughts, mind you. So Dreadnoughts are not, these are just, it's something.
Yeah.
Big deal here. So
are we getting into like warp territory with like what they're using to do all?
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Yeah. Okay.
Don't ask questions about it. Hey, you weren't supposed to know about that. That's the Dark Angel secrets. And like I said before, there's Dark Angel secrets. They have a lot of secrets.
Okay.
They're using white phosphorus. You know what I'm saying? They're using war crimes.
Yeah.
So it is. Yeah, it's basically these missiles and bombs they're not necessarily warp technology, and that the way they're not using like demons and sorcery. It's just this thing just cuts a hole in space time and then collapses. It's like a negative space bomb. I don't know how to explain
like
it.
a little black hole or something.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
So it's more like the aliens from the 3-body problem, or 3-body. Is it what's called the 3-body problem,
or so? Yeah.
The sci-fi thing? So it's like that where they have like reality bending weapons. So it's like that. So they move in there, and this Dreadnought starts shooting at Red Loss, and Red Loss is just moving through it. He just taking the fire, and he basically dives at this Dreadnought with his axe and tears through the Dreadnought like a cutting a boat in half. Right? Shout out to I cut this boat in half.
Yeah,
That's his name.
The Flex Seal guy.
Yeah, Phil Swift.
Oh yeah.
He kills this Dreadnought like Phil Swift cut that boat in half, and he just tears it up, and he kills. So this Space Marine, mind you, he's not like a Primarch. A regular Space Marine just killed a Dreadnought 1-on-1. So just give you an idea how insane this guy is. And he's moving around the World Eaters behind it. And they're just overwhelming this force. And they take care of that. We get kind of like, well, while they're doing that, let's go back to the Lion. And the Lion is, focusing on the victory of it. Yeah, don't worry about what's going on in the South Continent. We won, basically. And they all thank the Dark Angels. And, like I said, Holgwyn is like, it's weird. But basically the Lion says, okay, so when we kind of rebuilt this system, so who's going to be in charge here, right? Who's going to be the governor, right? So they're doing all that. But they ask him, what happens when you guys leave? And they say, basically, you guys can handle it. You don't need us here. So he takes the officers back up to the ship called the Honored Deeds and puts the question of the fled traders to TuChulcha. And TuChulcha, we have not talked about this thing. And here's a picture of TuChulcha. You're like, is that a child? Yes. So TuChulcha is basically how Dark Angels got out of the Ruin Storm and the warp stuff because remember I said they were stuck in the warp. How'd they get out? This kid. So basically it looks like a child, maybe 10 years old, but it is a demon possessed thing. And it looks like it's a very old child. It's elderly, yellow glazed eyes. The hair is falling off. And he smells bad. Like it's almost like it's Benjamin Button, right? When he's an old kid.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so is that going on? And now that being isn't TuChulcha. TuChulcha is the entity inside it.
Okay. He's possessing whatever.
Yes, it could be a servitor, it could be a child, it could be whatever it is in at the moment.
Okay.
And it can cut through warp distortions easily. It's very good at that. So apparently where they got this thing from was a planet called Perditus before the heresy. And it's kind of sparse on the details there. But apparently there was a bargain struck with the entity, and that Ferrith Redloss was not present when the deal was made, because he probably would have been like, hey, no way. I don't think we should mess around with this weird thing. But he was not there. And TuChulcha was delivered to the Line roughly a year before this episode, what we're talking about right now. And the Line knows what it is, but he keeps it anyways. And he basically tells his officers, do not interact with that thing. Only I can interact with that thing. And even the Watchers in the dark do not enter the chamber where it is kept. And even their navigator looks at the floor whenever she's near it. Basically, this entity is some weird thing that is almost doing whatever it wants, but whatever it wants is also in line with what the lion wants. And the lion knows that, but he's basically, look, we need this in the short while. We can handle it later on. The benefit outweighs the long-term risk here.
Okay. So do we know kind of what the deal is, if that makes sense? Like,
it doesn't say.
Okay.
It's kind of one of the Dark Angel secrets.
Okay.
Who knows? Maybe it was a lion's life. We don't know.
Right. Okay.
But so Lion tells TuChulcha, pave a way to Macragge. And TuChulcha's child servitor bows, and they go to Macragge. And the lion arrives, but he arrives with a single Stormbird, and he lands and meets Guilliman, and they find Sanguinius in the library of Ptolemy, which is funny they have a library of Ptolemy, considering that's long ago for us now in 2020.
Yeah.
In the year 30,000 or 31,000, I can imagine Ptolemy is still
relevant,
a character, or not character, but a person that people even remember ever.
Yeah.
But whatever, that's how it goes. Like in Betrayer, there's a part where there's a servitor hooked up to something, or no, a princeps, some type of person that's hooked up to a bunch of cables, and they're basically saying her hair was like a bunch of snakes, similar to something from an old Earth aggression myth. And I was like, did that really, the Medusa story really get carried on for that long? I mean, maybe, but I don't know.
Yeah, it wasn't the Iron Warriors plant like Olympia or something like that.
Right, Olympia. It's like, it's called that because that was a cool word. It's like, okay, sure, whatever. Okay. Or like Medusa. Even Medusa is a planet that which is funny because Medusa is the planet that the Iron Hands are from, or where Ferrus Manus was from. So it's like, so Medusa, the term exists, but you don't say Medusa for referring to the actual creature. Okay, yeah. Whatever. So, anyways, he is talking to him, and they find Sanguinius, and Sanguinius has been sitting there for a while, kind of recovering. Physically, he's fine; he's not hurt or anything. But just like the kind of the things Curze was talking about, kind of is still weighing on him, and kind of, but Sanguinius is having this vision. It's just still building up. That vision of him dying is a horse. He just is getting so clear now that he can't help but think of anything else. And they're basically like, they notice this and they say, "Is something wrong?" Sanguinius is like, "Don't worry about it. It's just my visions. It's nothing." So the lion basically says, one that Curze here that's crazy, because I've been looking for him and I can't find him.
Right.
So he says, "I give me a executive military authority over Macragge," and he basically walks with Guilliman on the fortress of Hera, which is also funny because Hera is great, but it doesn't matter. Yeah. They walk and they talk through it, and Guilliman basically says, "Curze might want you to do that. If you tighten the city, crack down on like civil liberties, martial law, you're doing exactly what Curze would want you to do. Kind of have the instability." Right. And because the Night Hunter loves order collapsing, loves chaos, because he's a Joker baby. And Lion says Curze will reveal himself regardless, and I'm gonna be ready for him. So it doesn't matter what I do, I'm gonna get him.
Yeah. So is there a bigger reason why he's hunting out Curze besides just like he's evil?
It's personal really at this point. Like Lion just he wants to kill Curze because Curze is just a menace to like order in society, right? He's chaos, right? He's a Joker baby. He if they can get him, lock him up for good, or even kill him, we don't have to worry about that terrorist in the 500 worlds, because he's like the biggest threat to the Imperium Secundus right now. Is this guy going through there and just causing a lot of problems. Yeah. Okay. So got it. It's personal. It's also because like he's the biggest threat right now. Yeah. Okay. So they're like, okay. So the Triumvirate, which is the three of them, Sanguinius, Guilliman, and the Lion, declare Legatus Militant, which is basically, martial law. And Lion is the Lord Protector, effective immediately, and Lion deploys his Dreadwing again at around Macragge. Not to kill, mind you, because that would be crazy, but just kind of keep an eye on things. But it's also like, okay, that's crazy. These guys that use like the most insane weapons are just gonna walk around the streets of Macragge. Like I was just walking into the street in like wherever city, and you just see like not even military, like Navy SEALs walk around like full gear. You'd be like, is something happening, or okay, this feels weird. So they are moving through the Dreadwing and kind of finding these little spots where they think he might be. And they know Curze has been using mountains and cave systems and old kind of tunnels to kind of do what he's been doing. So Dreadwing goes there and burns them out, right? Phosphex, defoliants, radiation, all kinds of things. So they're basically kind of trying to smoke them out. But then it starts turning to anybody carrying a weapon that they shouldn't have is getting killed as well. So that's bad. And about 23 days in, Red Lost and his guys have depopulated nearly 2/3 of the region. So it's not the entire planet, just this region called Illyrian.
Okay.
I think of like a continent, basically. Not a continent, maybe like a country or a hillside or a city, or I'm not sure how big it is, but still it's a lot of people.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like a genocide almost.
Yeah.
So back in Macragge, civilians are starting to protest. They're like, hey, we can't work as efficiently if we have all these different like military people like on us. And like we can't even have our entertainment. No bread and circus. Oh, now I'm mad, you know? So they're standing out there and they're wearing red scarves on their wrists, basically like a protest thing. And Holdwind, who is, remember, the Dark Angels officer, is kind of watching these 42 protesters. And he says, like, what are they doing? I don't know what's going on with them. And he asks this guy, Voden Batterum, who's a captain of the Percentile Guard, to explain it to him. Doran explained that they are unhappy and wish the triumvirate to know. Hogan says, do they think the Emperor will change his mind on one of a few dozen individuals? No, because the Space Marines are weird like that. They don't get it anymore. They don't understand protest. They don't understand unions, workers' rights, any of that. You do what you're told or you die. Or really, do what you're told and then die, because it's usually war for the Space Marines. So he has to ask this human guy, like, what are they, you're a human, tell me what they're going on, right? Which kind of big difference you see there too with humans and Space Marines is that like Space Marines are supposed to be the peak of human potential. But how much are they really even humans anymore, you know?
Right, I was going to say, it seems like they just kind of lose their humanity. I doubt it's like right after, the process of becoming a Space Marine, but it's probably...
It's pretty soon after the process.
Sure, really.
Because they do psychoactive training, which is basically propaganda machine, Clockwork Orange, just shooting, love the Emperor forever, basically what Alex Jones talks about all the time, type stuff constantly at their brains.
Gotcha.
So they don't really get it.
Yeah.
He says, don't worry, they won't cause real trouble. They just want to vent. Like, it's not going to be, they're just mad. Little protests. And Holdman says, well, they're already causing trouble. They're in violation of the edict of congregations of more than 5 persons in a public space. So he's like, I don't know what to tell you, man. Like, they're unhappy. Like, I don't know. So it's kind of, this issue is arising, which Curze loves it, right? He's going to love it. So, back on Caliban. Like I said, we're going to be jumping back and forth here. Luther is holding court called the Hall of Decimiel from a small chair that is sitting behind the Lion's Throne. And he is kind of thinking about some stuff. And he used to have a wife named Fiona. And she died in childbirth about 2 years after the wedding, and along with the daughter she was carrying. So Luther is not a Space Marine. Because he was too old to become one when the process started. So he's like a semi-Space Marine.
Right.
Like he doesn't have any of the organs, but he has some gene therapies that'll make him live a long time. So he can probably live, as long as Space Marines do, but he does not have, like, if you shoot him, he will die from like maybe a las rifle, maybe. I don't know. It doesn't really say what the process is, but it's enough that he can
hang with the Space Marines.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's just not quite the same. And some of them out kind of looking at him a little differently too because of that, but it is what it is. So that's why he can have kids, basically, and have a wife. Because Space Marines can't have kids. None of that works anymore.
Okay.
Also, they just don't even think about it. And I think we talked about before, like, there's a Space Marine that became one, and when the girls was just like, oh, it's a shame about all that, and he's just like, about what? She's like, yeah, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
So, yes. So she dies, and about half a year later, Luther found a feral boy, wild and unkempt with the eyes brutal green of Caliban's ancient trees. Luther raised that boy, trained him, championed over the order, and stood beside him as the order became the Imperium's first legion. And that was the Lion. Now, you would think, oh, it's kind of like a father figure, but like not really, because the Lion grew up so quickly. It was like within like 3 years, he's already like as tall as a Primarch and like all that stuff, right? So it's like, yeah, not quite. So
yeah,
they're more like brothers in a weird way. So, and he gave the Lion everything, right? But the Lion claimed a liability at Zahariel in front of Horus and Typhon, and full of witnesses, right? Which I read at the beginning. Kind of him and Horus kind of humiliated Luther, being like, no, you have to stay on the Caliban, take care of it. But they said basically, no, it's a good thing. For the honor of Caliban, right? And he's like, I don't want to do that. I want to be with you. And he's like, let's do bed. Okay, go. The War Master says so, so do what he says. So now Luther, kind of in this moment now, is kind of thinking about Fiona a lot now, his wife, and wonders what would happen if Lionel had been raised with a mother and a sister, or if Luther had let the Sirach kill him on Sirach. So I don't know if we ever covered that, but it was kind of in the beginning episodes. There was a dark angels thing where they had to go spend a close Sirach, basically bringing to compliance type of thing, and they set up a trap to kill the lion because most of these planets do not want to be under imperial rule. They want to do their own thing. So originally it was just like, oh yeah, of course, yeah, the Emperor's so awesome. Yeah, we'll totally worship him. It was a trap set up where basically they rigged the lion's Thunderhawk, I think it was, they basically just put a nuclear bomb on it. Because that should be enough to kill him, right? But the Luther found out, and he basically told Zahariel, and Zahariel's like, why'd you wait so long to say? Because he got to a point where like they couldn't defuse it anymore because the countdown started. And he's like, well, because in a way, I almost wanted it to happen. And Zahariel's like, well, that's crazy. Anyways, we got to figure out how to get. So eventually, I think they like, I can't remember what they do. They basically like shoot off into space or something, or I don't know. Because on their ship, on the flagship, so the Thunderhawk is in space on the ship with the bomb set. Basically, it was supposed to blow up him and the ship and all this stuff. So they shoot it into space, and then you see explosions. But anyways, but Luther's thinking about, what if I just let that happen? What if he died there?
Yeah.
You know?
So was that while he was on Caliban, like kind of as the?
No, this was a little bit before. This was kind of, but not really. Like it was before Horus basically told like him to stay on Caliban and for the Lions going to go to the Great Crusade. It's kind of an in-between phase of that.
Okay.
And yeah, so he's thinking about this, like, what if he died there? Would I be in charge? Or what if he had not relinquished the Grand Mastery of the Order when the Emperor came? Like, what if we sell the orders like we used to? And he's kind of just like he's really thinking about it. Like, would I be in charge? Would I have everything I ever wanted? How can nobody care as what Luther wants? What about me? And so he's thinking about that. And now we're going to go back to Zahariel, kind of underground, inside the Ouroboros. And eventually he comes back to the surface. And he is in a place called the North Wilds, which is north of Aldoruk. And he in our archaeology is there now. And archaeologies we talked about before with Caliph are these kind of reverse cities. Instead of building upwards, you kind of build downwards.
Yeah.
So it's like an underground city. And he kind of ends up going through there and unfortunately kind of collapses the archaeology. And he returns. And he is kind of tapped in a little bit to the energies of the planet a little bit more. He can see kind of energy running through everything alive. Basically, anything that has Cypher energy or potential, he can kind of detect it. It's not the only thing he sees, but it's kind of like, you ever seen The Matrix, the third one? When like Neo goes blind, but then he can like still see things. It's like that. You kind of like see like the signatures of things.
Yeah. Okay.
By borrowing his power from the Ouroboros. So, and he realizes that he's like, oh, Ouroboros is the soul of Caliban. Basically, this chief librarian taught him, these tenets of the librarius, the imperial truth, all these different things is kind of came from the Ouroboros and how he can pull power from it. And there's a lot of walls that are built up too, like mental walls that kind of block that power. And the Emperor also suppressed that idea as well through the Nicaea. And Zahariel is kind of like, I don't agree with that now. He's starting to realize like this power is very useful. And he's starting to think he knows now why, because like it is useful, because man, it is very dangerous. So he kind of decides the Ouroboros has to be basically kept a secret and kept safe. Like, you cannot come with me. They're going to kill you, like you're a warp entity and you're just too dangerous.
Yeah. Feels very the dragon under Mars.
Right.
Yeah.
Similar to that. So, but the Ouroboros, I think, is the Void Dragon is weird because it's like, it's not a warp entity. It's just like an energy being.
Yeah.
But yes, it's very similar.
Yeah.
So Zahariel decides that he opens his mind fully for the first time in a long time. And he kind of, like going back to the Matrix, like when Neo learns to fly, basically taps into the Matrix around him. So he starts flying. He flies like a bullet towards Aldoruk and meets this guy named Lord Cypher. And he is kind of seeing this weird version of it, though, at the fortress, where he sees these ancient Calibanized stones at the roots, like glowing with this power, but also this imperial structure that's grafted on top. Basically, they try to suppress this thing, and they built their structures on top of it. And he also says a particular light around Luther's private library. So he's getting ready to confront this guy, Lord Cypher. Well, his title is Lord Cypher. This guy, Visago, intercepts him and tells him, he says, look, the Watchers in the Dark are allied with Lord Cypher, and a direct attack might be bad news, because we don't know, but these guys might be really dangerous, or they could, really stop them from happening. So Zahariel says, maybe you're right. Maybe I need to recalculate some things here. So I'm going to go talk to Luther instead about it. So he does. And Luther's talking with Zahariel, Astelan, and the Lord Cypher together. But he doesn't trust any of them. He says, I think all of you are trying to do something funny here. He's like, you're trying to do this, and you're trying to do this, and you're trying to do this. And, I don't know. So he's starting to look at Zahariel, though, and he's realizing, like, the most dangerous person here is Zahariel. I mean, he's the most powerful psyker in the world. He's like, he's tapped into something here. So in front of the other two, he opens the door, takes an iron ring holding 3 large keys. And he kind of goes back and tells him a story. And back before the Emperor came, the Order kept its own psychers, and they were called the Mystai. And he says, these keys belong to the master of the Mystai. They are now yours. I've never used them, nor has any other for more than 100 years. I do not know which doors they unlock or what lies beyond these portals, but I can see even now that you detect something from them. And Zahariel takes the keys, and Zahariel says, I know they're home. Luther says, brothers, welcome the new master of the Mystai into the ranks of our council. I am sure he and his disciples will serve the Order well. So basically, it's like, well, Zahariel, I mean, he's most tapped in, so maybe he can be helpful, but he is also very dangerous. Astelan and Lord Cypher acknowledge it, but they're a little like, come on, man. I wouldn't trust that guy. He's a little weird. So, and he's also a librarian, which there's a law specifically that says he can't be doing what he's doing. The Emperor made a law that says librarians are not allowed to do librarian stuff. And he's doing librarian stuff. That's against the Emperor, right? So, and the master of the Mystai belongs to Caliban, not to some. I mean, Zahariel is a Calibanite guy. He's from Caliban. But still, it's like.
Space Marine territory.
Right. Because, by being a Space Marine, he's part of the Imperium. So, basically, but Luther also kind of does as a piece of it. Like, if I give Zahariel these keys, then he's going to be on my side. Almost like a bargaining thing.
Right.
So he's also being political. In a way, he's thinking, like, he'll have to be loyal to me because he has these keys. And Zahariel takes to it pretty quickly. He gathers his circle of psychers, and they're called the Mystai. There's 5 of them called Tendarian, Visago, who we just talked about, Carthius, Azrael, Athadrael. Yeah, those are the 5. And also goes into places where those keys unlock. And they perform a ritual with the disciples where they can also now channel that Caliban's warp power through himself and the circle. And the chamber is shielded against Ouroboros, so it can't, like, do weird things to them when they're in there. But Zahariel still has a little bit of piece of the Ouroboros with him. So he kind of gives them that little piece as well. Kind of divvies up these pieces. But the problem is the war's beginning to fail. Because, like I said with Zahariel, he's dipping a little too far into that warp stuff, and it never works out for you.
Right.
And the barrier runes evaporate. And Zahariel opens his eyes, which now glow an emerald green. He says, now you share my vision, my purpose. And the Mystai said, the will of Caliban be done. So now Zahariel is basically, he's still Zahariel, but he's also, like, ascended in a way. Like, he is not possessed by a demon, but he's basically a battery for warp power from the Ouroboros. So I don't know how to explain it very well, but it's like, he's not really losing anything here. But if he overdoes it, it will be bad for him. But there's no, like, demon in his head being like, oh, do this, do that. Oh, let me take over type thing. So it's not like Argo Tall with that. It's more of like Captain Marvel, where she had, like, the power of the Power Stone or whatever that gave her power, but she didn't have the Power Stone, but she's, like, pulling energy from it. It's kind of like that in a way.
Okay. Got it.
Yes, if that explains it. So, but what he doesn't realize is Ouroboros is also trying to manipulate him a little bit too, because it's warp energy. That's what they do. And Zahariel can kind of control it, though. He's up there now. And Ouroboros kind of directs him towards Luther. And then that's kind of where things are sitting right now as the Dark Angels arrive. Zahariel and Astelan are waiting together and watch the Stormboard come down. And the person who steps off it is the chapter master, Belath, who is sent by a senior officer that the line doesn't personally supervise. So Belath made his own company, a librarian named Asmodeus, and some other transports with him. And he says his orders are to collect 30,000 of the Dark Angels garrison in Caliban and bring them to the war. And he's kind of rough with everybody on the ground, kind of like, get on my way, do what I say type stuff. He refuses questions, and he says, I only wish to speak to Luther because he's in charge here. And Zahariel is reading kind of Belath's discomfort the whole way in, because he can kind of, he's so tapped in right now. He's like, he's seeing like this, he's kind of being tough and whatever and rough, but he does like a guilt. He's like, why, like, what are you guilty about? That's so weird. Like, why does Space Marine ever feel guilt? You know?
Yeah.
So they kind of ride on this Land Raider together. And Zahariel says, tell me something, Master Belath. Do you have news of my cousin Nemiel? And I think we talked about Nemiel a little bit. In the beginning, we talked about Dark Angels in the earlier episodes. Nemiel is Zahariel's cousin, and they're both Space Marines now. They were young enough to get the surgery to make them into one. And Nemiel got taken away to go to the war. And Nemiel they both like each other. They're very close, but Nemiel got taken away. And so Bella tells him, Nemiel is dead, brother. And Zahariel's like, what? What? Wait, what? What do you mean he's dead? That's my cousin. So, because they both joined the Order at the same time, both became Dark Angels at the same time, but they got split up as Nemiel went to the Lion's Fleet, basically a chaplain, which basically keeps oaths. Not an oath keeper. I mean, oath keeper, but like that's a gang with like a white supremacist gang, so not like that. But yes, basically they call it chaplains. There's also chaplains in the future as in 40K as well, but those are more like religious chaplains.
So is there a difference between, like, so they both came Space Marines at the same time and all that kind of stuff? Is there a reason one stayed on Caliban and one didn't, or is it just kind of...
So when?
Yeah.
But also Zahariel is a psyker, so maybe that's also like, if he's here, it's probably less affected by... Yeah.
Right.
Like if we can kind of keep an eye on here doing what he does, and we're not going to, hey, between us, we're not going to say that you do that weird stuff. Whereas if he was out with the Lion's going to be like, hey, well, what's all that magic you're doing? Right. I don't know about all that. Right. But at the same time, Lion's kind of a hypocrite when he has TuChulcha doing weird stuff on board. So, yes.
Okay.
So Nemiel is not a psyker. Well, at least he was never shown to be a psyker, I'll say. But he's like, oh, that sucks, but it is what it is. Space Marines die in war. That's what we're made for. And he kind of made peace with that a long time ago. But what he's still struggling with is the guilt that Belath feels. He's like, you're avoiding my question. He says, well, how did he die? And he says, some warp entities attacked the flagship, and these creatures of fire and blood, a two-headed bird thing, and all this different stuff. And now the two-headed bird thing is we talked about it before, is a Tzeentch, Lord of Change, yes. That is a greater demon of Tzeentch. Okay. So he says he died fighting one of those, which is like, hey, fair enough. You're fighting a greater demon of a sorcerer. So
yeah.
And Zahariel is kind of reading his mind and seeing these pictures. So he's like, okay, it's telling the truth. Okay, fair enough. And Belath eventually is like, it is not for me to, before he can finish the sentence, Zahariel basically jumps across and grabs his head and basically summons the power of the Psyker. And he says, what happened to Nemiel? Basically doing a brain blast to him, trying to read his mind. Normally, Psykers don't do that because it's a little like, whoa, that's a little aggressive. But he's like, I don't care anymore. You need to tell me what happened to him.
Yeah.
So he is basically, and this actually happens in the first book, Dark Angels or Descent of Angels, or whatever the first book was called, where there is a guy, I think I just said his name, I can't remember his name, but the librarian that taught Zahariel what he knows, he did the same thing to Zahariel when he was younger, to kind of like, because he thought Zahariel was lying or something, kind of like, he didn't have to grab his head to do it, but he basically was like trying to like pull out a thing from his mind, and it was very painful. Very painful when people do it to you. So Zahariel basically is flooding through this guy's thoughts, or not thoughts, his memories, mind you, and is aboard the Invincible Reason, right, which is one of the ships of the Dark Angels. And they are in the warp by Night Lords. Demons are materializing and attacking them. And eventually, they sort it out. In the middle of the Strategium is a tribunal. There's a librarian before the Lion. It says Asmodeus, which is the same Asmodeus who just landed on Caliban, who basically broke the Council of Nicaea in the warp because he had to, right? And standing over him with a pistol in Crozius, demanding his punishment, is Nemiel. And Lion is thinking, he's like, look, he's conflicted. He's like, we're not supposed to use his powers, but we have to if we want to get out of this. So, but the Lion was like, but he did break the rules, so he needs to die. And Nemiel, you have to kill him. You have to kill this librarian. Well, wait a minute. Obviously, he didn't because he's on the planet right now.
Right.
And Nemiel says, the Edict of Nicaea was issued by the Emperor, my liege. There is no higher authority. And Lion says, enough. And the Lion moves quickly. And a split second later, Nemiel's cracked skull face helmet is spinning through the air in a bloody arc, and his headless body hits the floor. Pieces of ceramite embedded in the fingertips of the Primarch's gauntlet with one blow, barehanded, for basically holding the Emperor's edict against him. So the Lion killed Nemiel. I basically him with that Viltrumite chop, took his head off.
Yeah.
And that is what the guilt that Belath is feeling, is that like this, like, oh man, that wasn't good.
Yeah. So he killed Nemiel just because he's like, we have to hold ourselves accountable to the
Emperor.
Nicaea.
Yes.
Okay.
And then it made the Lion so mad because he's like, you don't tell me what to do. Like,
right.
He's like, we had, like, because he's conflicted. He's like, I said we had to do it, and so it's like we have to kill this guy, right? Because he broke the law, the Emperor. But at the same time, it's like, it's just confliction.
Right.
And then basically, Nemiel tells me, he's like, there's no higher authority.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we gotta follow the law. And then that made Lion so mad he killed him.
Okay.
Yeah, the Lion is temperamental, so he kills him. And then the vision cuts off when Astelan basically knocks out Zahariel and basically aims the bolt pistol at him. And Zahariel's like, he's gonna kill me, right, for doing psychic powers to Belath. But instead, Astelan basically stops. Wait a minute. Belath he's the messenger, and the Lion is the perpetrator. And Zahariel basically says the Lion killed Nemiel, took off his head. And so he's not mad at Belath. He's like, you didn't do anything. You just were carrying that.
Mm-hmm.
And but now Zahariel knows the Lion killed his cousin for keeping the oath. That was his job. He was a chaplain. He was the oath keeper. Mm-hmm. Not a supremacist, but he was an oath keeper. So he got killed for doing his job. Mm-hmm. And so we'll see how that goes. So, but now Belath is like, well, that was weird. I don't like you all wiggling around in my brain like that. And now everyone in Caliban will know as well, because the story's going to spread to the same all around, same circles. Mm-hmm. And then eventually that's going to end at Luther, and Luther's going to hear that the Lion killed Nemiel for following the rules. So Luther's going to think about that one. Mm-hmm. So back to the Lord Cypher. It is a title that I've said before. It's basically an ancient role. It is the guardian of the order's traditions. They are the oath keepers for the orders.
Okay.
So kind of a similar thing there. Mm-hmm. And their name basically changes to Lord Cypher. They no longer have a name, just the title Lord Cypher. Mm-hmm. Okay. Because it is like you hold this thing above anything else, even your own self.
Mm-hmm. And this is just a regular person, not a space marine.
No, he's a space marine.
Oh, okay.
Yes. They before they were actually, I think he's a space marine. I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure he's a space marine. He might not be, but if he's not, then he's definitely enhanced in some way.
Okay.
Because before they were just like really powerful knights as well. Mm-hmm. So, but the problem is now things are kind of coming to a head here, because the Lord Cypher knows the Watchers in the dark, and he knows what the Ouroboros is. And he basically tells Luther plainly that, like, you're walking into something bad here. By giving him the keys, something bad may happen. And Lord Cypher says, if you are diligent, the time of testing might yet be postponed, and we shall all fare better for it. If I am forced under the horns of such a dilemma, regard it as your failing that I've been placed there. Basically telling him what you're doing is kind of dumb, mm-hmm. And it's going to not end well for you. Yeah. And Luther is like, yeah, whatever. Like, it is what it is. All right. I'll handle it if I need to handle it. Mm-hmm. And the problem is, if, like, Belath knows that as well, and he goes back to the Lion and tells him what Zahariel just did, the Lion's going to come back here very angry and probably kill Zahariel. And that'd be very bad too, because Zahariel is very powerful and very kind of in Luther's court. Mm, yeah. So kind of a little trick here. Mm-hmm. So back to the Lion. About 23 days into the Illyrian campaign, that's the one where they were kind of blowing up the tunnels with the Dreadwings. Yeah. Breadloss tells his plan to the Lion. He says, we've been doing what we're doing, blowing up the mountain. And he says, I'm going to move into the upper cave, seal every exit, eliminate every way out. And then, then you can kind of go and do what you need to do. But the Lion, he's like, corrects him. He says, it shall be as it was in the Invincible Reason. When you have cleansed the gate peak, withdraw, and seal the mountain tight. Then I shall hunt. Like, don't get it twisted here. Mm-hmm. So they do, and he goes in alone. On foot, main highway, full view. On the whole mountain is sealed, and the Lion's walking up there. No guys behind him. Mm-hmm. He's like, I'm gonna get Curze. You're not hunting for me. He says, I know Curze in there, and I know Curze won't run. Because he's like, I know Curze does not want to escape. He wants witnesses to what he wants to do. That's how he works. He always wants to be proven right.
Right.
They keep you proven right. There's nobody there to see it.
Mhm.
So the lion is making himself the bait in the trap at the same time. So eventually he arrives, and the lion gets in the mountain, and Curze starts attacking him. And the lion throws himself at him as well, and they're fighting, and it's a tussle. And it's basically Curze is not doing well right now. They say he's basically skeletal, skin pulled tight over bone, like not an ounce of fat. He looks like a ghoul. He's just been so unwell. Like his eyes are black, his teeth are filthy and pointed. He's become like a Wendigo. You know what I mean? This freak of nature in this mountain.
Right. Is that for a reason, or just because he's been out there for so long?
And he's just been out there for so long.
Okay.
He's just so crazy at this point.
Mhm.
He's like moving in the ways that like don't even make sense. Like he's like basically collapsing, unnaturally joints twisting backwards. Like he's become this like circus performer fighting like Soul Calibur was a Bulldo. They got the mask in the closet, like walks backwards.
Oh yeah.
He's turning into that. He's fighting like a freak.
Mhm.
And the lion is like, "What is wrong with you?" And the lion says to him, "You have lost the only weapon that could have killed me." And now, what he means by that is that the lion is a sword. The lion sword is a weapon that could permanently kill Curze, and Curze had it. And one of the lion's warriors ended up stabbing Curze with it at some point during the Illyrian campaign, and Curze simply took it out and kept it. And when Curze is trying to use a lion sword against Lion traps the sword and like throws it away, and basically stabs it, picks it up and stabs it through Curze's arm and pins him to the wall. Curze tears free, basically tears a bunch of meat and stuff away at the same time. And he basically tells him, like, "You do not kill me, my death comes from elsewhere."
Mhm.
And basically saying that lion sword, by taking away from Curze, like, "You can't kill me now. You don't even have the sword, like this sword."
Is there something special about that sword, or
It's probably enhanced in some way, I imagine. It's like kind of like, I can't remember who we talked about, but they had like a weapon. Oh, Horus, when he broke that gate, or that illusion. Actually, need correction that episode. I did say that the thing that they were fighting was an Eldar blade something.
Mhm.
It was on Eldar. It moved like an Eldar. That's what the thing said. It moved like an Eldar blade singer or striker. It was just an illusion, like a warp created thing.
Okay.
They were not fighting Eldar in that room. You make that correction because I feel like I said they're fighting an Eldar. They were not.
So, yeah.
Yes.
But
So
okay. Yeah.
my fault on that one. Anyways, because it just seems crazier now looking back. Like, wait, what? Why is an Eldar there?
Yeah.
It was not. It was just like one. Anyways.
Got it.
But yes, no, Horus had to use World Breaker to actually kill it because it had to be something that was touched by the Emperor to destroy this illusion the Emperor created.
Okay.
So that's kind of what the Lion's sword is this like enhanced sword that is strong enough to kill a Primarch. Kind of like how the Lair Blade killed Ferrus Manus, and it was like demon possessed.
Mm-hmm.
You can kill Primarchs with firepower. It just takes a significant amount.
Right.
But there are certain weapons that are just so enhanced, that they can just do more damage.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's all, action figures and sci-fi and whatever. Right? So, anyways, so you basically tell me you're not going to kill me. I don't die here. I know how I die. And Curze gives him a prophecy. He says, "You have to accept it. You don't kill me. I am redeemed. My life taken by one of the Emperor's assassins." Basically, he tells us 1,000 times. He's like, no matter what you're going to do, it's not here. So, in the line basically says, like, "I don't accept that at all. I could kill you right now if I want to."
Mm-hmm.
So basically, he pins him again a wall, pins him to the wall with the sword, and Curze tears free again, and Lions just start beating him, just dropping hammer fists, punching him. They got the full mount on him, dropping the fists. It's brutal, and he's breaking him down. And by the time Red Lost gets there to kind of check in on him, he sees that like Curze on the floor. Basically, he can barely move. He's so smashed, but he's smiling the whole time. His teeth are all smashed. It's basically, go back to the Joker again. It's when Batman's punching Joker in the face and Joker's loving it. It's that whole thing again.
Yeah.
So the Lion says his body is broken, but his spite remains keen. Bring chains, heavy chains. He said, "Lock him up." He said, "I want to put him in prison." And I think I have a picture of that there. Yeah, that's kind of where they got him locked up now in the chains. You see, he still looks pretty jacked up, but he's very unwell looking.
Yeah.
Also, here's a picture of Zahariel. I feel like I kind of skimmed on the pictures at Zahariel. How Luther's looking. Yeah.
Nice.
Israfel. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry about the pictures. There's some of mine, when I start rolling. Anyways, they'll be in the video though. So the viewers don't have to worry about it. Anyways, back to Luther. So Luther is holding a feast in the hall of Nemiel, and he has an arrangement that's very deliberate. The goblets are pre-placed. They gets positioned in a certain way. Basically, he's being political here. And there's a guy named Grifane. And Grifane is a fire wing, which is one of the wings. And Grifane is a Calibanite and is part of the Sphere Cast. And he was voted there because his loyalties run to the world and the order as much as the line in the Lord Cypher. I mean, as much as it's the line. And the Lord Cypher has been quietly doing a little bit of work on him. And just been doing a little politics with him. So, but nobody at the table knows whether or not that work is actually taken hold yet. So, we'll see what happens there.
So, I know you pointed out, like, with the fire wing, he's a Calibanite. Aren't all the Dark Angels Calibanites?
Not all of them. So, when the Emperor originally made Space Marines, he made most of all of them at once. A lot of them from old Earth, like Captain Curze.
Yeah,
he's dead now, but he was from Earth.
Okay.
He is that old. Some of them, a lot of the Dark Angels are from Caliban, but a lot of them, when the Emperor showed up to pick up the line and say, "Hey, you're my son," blah blah, all that stuff, he said, "Here's your legion. I already have them pre-made for you." So some of them, a lot of them come from Caliban, a lot of them don't. A lot of them come from other planets as well.
Okay.
Most of the modern ones do. Well, not the modern as of 40K, but like a lot of the newer ones do, just because that's what Luther's been doing, is training the newer ones. Like the guy said when he showed up with the I forgot his name now. Belath. Yeah, Belath. When he shows up, he's like, "Yeah, I'm here to pick up some more guys." So yeah.
Okay.
So like you talked about, that librarian is there too, and he is present, and he's psychically kind of just tuned in as well. He's like, "I'm just kind of keeping track on any funny business here." And Zahariel is above, watching from a balcony, with his Mystai basically kind of tapping everybody's mind, looking for information. And he realized that Asmodeus is actively blocking any type of mind reading. He says, "Oh, that sneaky guy." So Luther ends up having a speech and basically talking about an old Calibanite legend about Zahariel, basically a knight who killed a great beast and gave the armor made from his skin to his 5 greatest rivals, along with the message that our enemies are the beasts, not each other. And the point is that assembled the Dark Angels, no matter what, must face it together. No matter what happens, we are Dark Angels, and we can't fight each other. But really, this deeper layer than that is Caliban's future is Caliban's to decide. It's not up to the Imperium to tell us what to do. So he basically says, should we not ask Brother Nemiel what the loyalty to the Lion paid him? So he knows what happened to Nemiel. And everybody kind of goes, whoa, what the heck? Huh? So like everybody knows what happened. Nobody's wanting to bring it up. He's like, oh. Yeah. So, and Luther turns to Belath directly. He says, "Were you not there the day the Lion raised his hand and struck down the son of Caliban for the sin of disagreement?" And Belath goes to talk, and Luther basically just keeps talking anyways. And he looks at Asmodeus, says he does it. And he says, "But Nemiel's will was stronger than that. His honor, his bond forged of sterner stuff. And he died for that oath he swore, killed by the same jealous hand that laid low all rivals on Caliban. Where the battle rages, there the loyalty of the soldier is proved, and to be studied on all the battlefield besides is mere flight and disgrace to be flinches at that point." So he's really he's doing his whole thing here. And he basically puts his hand on Grifane's arm, and he stands up, and he asks him a question that he already knows the answer to. And he says, "Where now is the Lion? While star systems burn and armies die, does he come home to Caliban and make sure it's safe?" The whole way, and they just kind of sit around, nobody says anything, like, "Oh, I don't know." And even Zahariel kind of like, "Who's going to say it?" And eventually Grifane says, "No, the Lion went to Macragge." And Luther basically goes, "Oh my goodness, he's not here." Faint surprise so that even Zahariel is always like, oh, I would have believed it if I didn't know that he already knew. Yeah. So then he says, "What could possibly take the Lion to Macragge when the War Master's target has always been Terra?" And Grifane says, "Gilliman builds a second empire, abandoning his oaths to Terra." And everybody's just like, "Well, what? Are you going against the Emperor? This is craziness." And, this is politics, right? He's not giving the full story here. And basically, Grifane shows up, and not shows up, but he basically says, he's like, "Yeah, actually, that is crazy. Wait a minute." That the Lion, had voted his own lieutenant, confirming the fleet officers that the Primarch chose Gilliman's second empire over Terra and over Caliban. Like, that's what we started to realize, Grifane, is that, like, he's not even come back here to his own homeworld. He's too busy dealing with Gilliman and that instead of even going back here or even back to Terra to see if they're even safe. Obviously, they don't know what the Warp Storm and all that stuff, or the Ruin Storm, right? And Luther even kind of presses it. He says, yeah, the line abandons his world to raise up a rival to the Emperor's throne. And none of them, the Lion, Emperor, Horus, can be trusted with Caliban's fate. So he's really getting the fervor going.
Mm-hmm.
And Belath is kind of, he's hearing what he's saying. He sees the truth under it. And Zahariel is kind of hearing this. And all of a sudden, he pulls out all the Ouroboros' power out of every mind in the room and fires a bolt of green lightning at the head of the table. And it cracks Belath's war plate open, and he shoots him across the room, and he's dead as he lands. And Zahariel says, a vision. He was going to attack you, Grandmaster. And nobody has time to go, wait, what? And then everybody kind of jumps up and starts fighting each other. It's kicking off now.
Yeah.
And everything is, Lord Cypher draws his blade besides Luther. Griffane pulls out a bolt pistol, and he pulls it for pulls it to go to Luther's side. So Griffane has been convinced.
Mm-hmm.
And Luther looks aghast at Belath's smoking corpse. He's almost like, oh, wow, that was a little much. And then Zahariel kind of looks at him and says, slay the assassins. And Zahariel gives it for him. And all of a sudden, the hall roars with bolter fire. They all start shooting just a bunch of these other Dark Angels that are in the room. And bolters give way to chain swords, combat knives, armored fists. He's just getting so tangled that it's just people aren't even shooting more because you don't know who's friend or foe. They're all wearing the same colors.
Right.
Eventually, Griffane is fighting Asmodeus, who is the spear cast. Or, yeah, Griffane, the spear cast, sorry. He's fighting with Asmodeus, the Psyker. And he's kind of hitting the psychic shield. And Asmodeus is not fighting back, right? He is trying to just defend himself. And which is funny because that's literally what Nemiel died over, is for testing the thing that's keeping Asmodeus alive. Wielded against the Lion's own lieutenant on the Lion's own homeworld, right? It's like, oh, how interesting. So at that point, it kind of the combat ends, and Asmodeus ends up dying there, right? It doesn't really, don't get like a full cut on it, but he dies. And basically what it was is that they set up the cups in the room. The loyalists to Caliban had gold cups, and the supposed traitors had silver cups. So everybody drank from a silver cup, all dead.
Okay.
So eventually, Lord Cypher takes a plasma pistol shot at Zahariel. And this guy Tandarian, one of the Mystai, throws himself into the shot's path, try to ward it off, but he can't, and the bolt just takes his head off clean, kills him. And Zahariel had foreseen this moment. He's got a little bit of foresight, but it kind of still shocks him. He was like, oh, that plasma shot really is nasty. And now at this point, he realizes, oh, the Lord Cypher is trying to get me, So at this point, it is not, there's no more question about it.
Right.
And Lord Cypher starts running for the servants' passage, and Zahariel chases after him with what's left of his Mystai into the vault beneath the hall. And Lord Cypher's waiting down there, and he has a flamed wreath blade that he basically catches Carthius with and just kills him with one quick swipe.
So he's killing the Mystai right now?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Because he doesn't like them.
Yeah.
He says Zahariel has too much power with his Mystai.
Okay.
So he kills Carthius, and he basically shoulder tackles Azrael down, and then kind of vanishes in the dark, and they can't find him. And Zahariel's calling out, basically trying to use his psychic powers to see if he can get Lord Cypher. And he's basically like, we're on the same side. I don't want to kill you. And Lord Cypher says, you do not usurp Caliban's prisoner. And now dozens of hooded shapes resolve out of the dark. The Watchers in the dark appear, eyes like little scarlet pinpricks, all of them on Lord Cypher's side. So that's not good, right? And Zahariel doesn't fight them. He basically tries to argue with them. Not argue, but argue like, he's like, yeah, whatever, right?
Yeah.
And he says, it was not the cave that brought the first knight in here, was it? It was the Watchers. They needed a warden for their prison. The Order does not fight for Caliban, it fights for them. Leave or unleash the conqueror worm and it will devour us all. You are not welcome in Elderrook. So he's kind of threatening the Watchers as well. Basically, if you guys keep it up Ouroboros, I'm going to pull out the Ouroboros and that's it. Everybody's dead. And the Watchers are like, all right.
Now, do they know what that means?
You kind of do, yeah. Like if they know about this presence, then they don't know it like he knows it.
Right.
But the Watchers in the Dark definitely know. They know the most.
Okay.
Because they're like the ancient order of whatever.
Right.
So.
Okay. But then Lord Cypher, they would not know.
They might know a little bit. I would have to really look to see, but they know a little bit. Enough that a threat like that is like, okay, maybe he's not lying. He definitely has some power. He just shot like green lightning at that one guy. So.
Right.
So eventually it just ends up just being Lord Cypher, and as he's getting ready to fight, basically the blade turns to rust in his hand, just dissolves. And Zahariel says, "You have no sword. Show me your face." And he basically pulls his mask away, and he stops for a second and says, "A secret well kept, one that you need not keep much longer." He says, "On your knees." And basically, because Lord Cypher doesn't, like I said, he doesn't have a name, it's just a title. He kind of keeps himself hidden.
Mhm.
So basically, he cuts Lord Cypher's legs off with his psychic power, and he's basically looking at Zahariel and says, "You damn yourself and all of Caliban. You know nothing of the price of chaos." And Zahariel turns away and basically leaves and tells Mystai, "Make sure the body is not found. Only the stones will remember him." So it never says who that was under the mask.
Yeah.
It's just somebody that Zahariel was kind of surprised by. And they kill Lord Cypher, obviously so bad that there's nothing left.
Mhm.
And eventually, kind of the fighting stops, and they kind of get back together. And 15,000 warriors are assembled on the staging grounds of Alderuk. And Luther is speaking to them on the hall, on screens across fortresses, on boxes of the ships in the orbit. He's telling the story of Zahariel again. Basically, Caliban is for Calibanites.
Mhm.
Real nationalistic stuff.
Yeah.
And Astelan and Grifane are with him, Terran and Calibanite together, standing for the order, standing for the Calibanite as independent power. And but the problem is, he's also like, well, now we need like a new guardian of the order. And he names a new Lord Cypher. And Zahariel pulls the iron mask down to his face and walks up the stage. He's now the new Lord Cypher.
Okay.
And everybody loves it. Wow. I don't know if they know it's him, but it is him.
Right, that's what I was going to ask. So, I guess a couple questions. So, first, it sounds like Lord Cypher's identity is not known to like really anybody.
No, it's basically erased once you take the title.
Okay.
Now, Luther probably knows Zahariel, obviously because he picked him.
Right, yeah.
And so some people probably know it's him. But like before, even Zahariel didn't know the last one. He took off the mask and he's like, "Oh, I know that was you." And you don't know who it is, but
okay.
Yeah.
And then, so Zahariel kills Lord Cypher. I know Lord Cypher is trying to kill Zahariel. Does that mean that I guess now the previous Lord Cypher, was he against Luther as well, or is he just against Zahariel?
He was against Zahariel and a little bit against Luther because he kind of picked Zahariel like during that talk they had in the hall or in the throne room.
Yeah.
So yeah, he wanted Zahariel dead because he's just getting too powerful.
Right.
Like he's giving too much control. So it's like kind of half and half, or it's a 25-75, mostly against Zahariel.
Yeah.
But mostly he's like a little bit against Luther. He's like, wow, why would, okay, interesting that you picked him, not me.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
So there, yeah, 15,000 Space Marines are a part of this rebellion, basically. And so that's not good. So on the same night, on the Spear of Truth, where the lion is, and there's this guy named Marir Astelan, and he is the first master now. And I don't really know what that means. It's just called the first master, some title. And all the crew around him are loyal to him personally. Oh no, sorry, the lion is not here. This is the ship that the lion had been given by the Emperor. Sorry.
Okay.
And he is there, Marir, and he has all these Space Marines who are loyal to him personally, and replace serfs that were like, "Oh, I love the Emperor." He's like, "All right, get you out of here. Let's get some guys who like me." And his executive officer Galadin stands at his side, and he's kind of joking. That's like, with a battle barge and 30,000 Space Marines, I could go wherever I wanted, make a name for myself. And then all of a sudden, the mood breaks fast, and the sensors report that orbital platforms of the Caliban are powering up, and weapons lock on settling for the Spear of Truth, which is this ship. And Aslan is like, it's some weird error. Like, I don't know what that is. And then a command channel comes in from Luther. And he says, "Give me one reason not to blow you out of orbit, you treacherous cur. The blood of 18 Space Marines on your hand, Aslan. You deliberately destroyed any chance I had of Belath turning to the cause." And Aslan says, "I assume we can both speak with candor, Sar Luther. I did exactly that. I wanted to know if I can trust you." So basically, Aslan had engineered Belath's death himself. And kind of get that ball rolling in a different way.
Right.
And he also basically says, like, I don't trust you either. So, but it's like, okay, you're kind of in a bad situation to say I don't trust you above Caliban, where everybody kind of is on Luther's side. So, that's kind of going on there. So back to the lion. So the lion brings Curze before the triumvirate. Basically, this thing called the Legata Collegius, which is a circular court, bunch of tiered seats, a forum, built for judgment. Sanguinius Guilliman and the lion are sitting at the head, and Curze in the chains in the center, and he's still pretty beaten up, looking unwell, and they start giving him a trial. And it is not going well for them trial-wise because he's like, oh yeah, well, that's so crazy that you send the Dreadwing, and what they do to Illyrium is exactly what the Night Lords do. How can you defend that? You know, like, oh, our Night Lords, we just kill, burn, maim, and do all that stuff. What did your Dreadwing just do to those mountains, you know?
Right.
And also, you forced civilians out of their homes. You did this military thing. Very interesting. And they're basically like numbering the atrocities. And there is no way, from any standpoint, that it looks like the behavior of a Lord Protector rather than a Conqueror. And Gilman's like, yeah, I guess he has a point there. And Sanguinius doesn't say anything. He's just sitting there, still having visions like, I'm going to die. So the lion says, sure, but look what happened. I got you in chains. And he says, whether or not it was too much doesn't matter. If I got you out of the equation, and it was necessary. So at some point, the guy gets heated, and Lion draws his sword. And Gilman starts arguing with him, being like, well, hold on, wait a minute now. You did do a lot of craziness, and that's kind of bad. And he says, give me the sword, great. Leave me your sword. Like, maybe we don't need you throwing that around here right now. And he takes the blade, and he smashes it across his knee. And it falls down, and Gilman says, your sword for your oath, such as become your honor, Knight of Caliban. And the lion picks up the sword, sad, and he kind of yells at Gilman, calls it weakness. And he says, self-righteousness never conquered the galaxy, brother, and it will not save you from Horus.
And is that the lion sword that we were talking about?
Yes. Okay. So his special sword, Gilman snaps, breaks it, says, you've gone too far. Okay. And Lion says, I didn't go far enough, honestly. I could have gone farther.
That's like, he doesn't even know, like, the half.
So I could have killed him. I had him right there. And Sanguinius finally turns around and says, the triumvirate has ended. You're not welcome in Imperium Secundus. Basically, Lion starts arguing with stops himself and realizes that Sanguinius is having a vision the whole time. And he knows, like, he's getting kind of laid out here. And Sanguinius wouldn't lie and wouldn't like sugarcoat it and wouldn't do like be dramatic like Gilman kind of is. So Lion's like, yeah, all right, fine. So he leaves. Says, you kick me out, then fine. And Curze is loving it. He's kicking his little feet. He's a big old smile on his face. And yeah, so he's like, fine, I'll leave. So about 5 hours later, Dark Angels withdraw from Macragge. And Holguin is the last one out. His Deathwing, the Deathwing also formed up, and they leave with him. And this guy, Dracus Gorod of the Invictaris, comes to him. And behind Gorod is a Skeleton, who is still got his arm cut off, but he's healed up. He has a robot arm now. And Holguin and Gorod exchange a handshake, and Holguin tells him, basically, my liege overstepped, but not out of treachery, out of misguided determination. He says, you will need steel in your hearts for what comes next. And then Ascension tells him, he says, if next time he sees Horus, be sure to kill him for me. Telling Holguin. Holguin says, I will. Yeah, okay. So they walk away, and they kind of leave. Dark Angels leave. They said, fine, if we're not welcome here, then we're going to leave. All of us.
They can't leave Ultramar, though, right?
Yeah, it's TuChulcha.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So they can open up a little path and just leave. So, yeah. So, aboard the Mystical Reason, he's in the chamber with TuChulcha, is thinking about Caliban. He's kind of thinking about, like, the whole court thing. He's like, man, that really, maybe I could have handled that better. So, he basically goes back to Zeramond, which is another planet about 40 years ago. And when he exiled Luther and did not go back to Caliban, the whole thing with Luther, he says he should have returned with them, and everything that followed is the cost of that afternoon's arrogance. I think I'm too good sometimes. So Watcher in the Dark appears in the chamber as well, because these guys just kind of just move around.
Right. And they're not specifically Dark Angels, where they're
just beings, entities. They kind of just move around. They might be warp beings. Like, it's not really clear. And they've been on Caliban forever, like since the beginning, and they don't really speak. They kind of just like talk through gesture and implication and kind of like mental things. They're weird. Okay. So basically, this thing shows the Lion a vision, and it does not say what he shows them or it tells them, but it's basically the Lion responds and says, Caliban, I thought it lost. Perhaps you are right. If Terra has fallen and Macragge will fall, Caliban might stand, even if only as a light in the darkness for a while. There is strength there. It might even become a beacon, a refuge, as Macragge was during the Great Crusade, as Terra was during Old Night. Humanity has survived worse disaster than War Master's rebellion. Neither Horus nor Gilman will command me. I will honor Caliban as perhaps I have not in the past. There's still time to save my legion, my home. And he looks back to the Watcher is gone. It might be a little too late for that line.
I was like, oh, he's like, oh, let me go back to Canada. Okay, sure.
So he gets all of his guys together, the Lion, and to the Chamber of TuChulcha, and he tells them plainly, we return to Caliban. And he is thinking about the situation, and he quotes something Gilman once told him. And he says, he told me, no house divided against itself can stand. Our legion must be one and whole again. Gilman quoting Abraham Lincoln. So, but then Holguin has a lion sword. And he says, I thought I said to get rid of that. He says, forgive me, my liege, but your instruction was to take care of these. I thought it would be better to literal in this instance. I thought I might get the blade reforged if possible. The lion says, okay, fine enough. I guess that is what I said. And then Holguin is kind of thinking, and he says something out loud. He says, whatever happened next, Curze has the last laugh. Even if the Emperor held out for a time, terror surely has fallen by now. And Sanguinius and Gilman finally taking Curze's head changes nothing. And the lion is really like, oh man, you might be right. And he says, and he hears kind of a voice from Curze from the trial, says, you have to accept it. You don't kill me. I am redeemed. My life taken by one of the Emperor's assassins. So if that's true, the assassin has to come from somewhere. So the Emperor has to be alive to send him. So that's what the lion's thinking. He's like, wait a minute. The Emperor is still alive. Because there's in that vision, the Emperor's assassins. He's like, wait a minute. I figured it out. The riddle. So the lion turns to TuChulcha, and he says, Sanguinius Hall is shielded against teleportation. Can you bypass those shields? The thing says, yes, lion. The barrier of Macragge is an obstacle to me. Though it may hurt you. He says, send me to him, to Sanguinius and Holguin too. Send us now. Because basically he's had this brain blast. Wait a minute, the Emperor's alive.
Right.
Yeah, I need to tell them. So he makes a request, and everybody's kind of left that hall, Senate, whatever, chamber, the judge hall, courtroom. There we go, goodness. And Gilman and Sanguinius are kind of alone with Curze still. And Curze kind of just been testing them, as he does. And he's basically saying, like, why isn't the lion here breaking laws? Why isn't he in change? Guys kind of seem like hypocrites, huh? And eventually he says to Gilman directly, does it make it harder, dear Rubute? He says, make what harder? Killing me. Did the veneer of the law make it palatable? And neither of them have weapons. Gilman doesn't have his sword, and Sanguinius doesn't have his sword either. But they do decide to execute Curze. So he basically sends for a weapon, and Sanguinius says, I need no blade. Sanguinius rises up, wings spread way out, and his skin turns white, and his eyes go blood red. Basically, he's tapped into that form. He's going Morbius mode. The red thirst is kicking in finally. And Gilman has seen the rage before, but he's never seen this, like, full letting the beast out form.
Right.
And Curze basically says, this is not how I die. Let me remind you. And Sanguinius basically lands over him, basically about to strike and destroy him. And then all of a sudden, Lion and Holguin teleport in. And they're covered like this like winter frost. And they drop in from agony. Basically, the TuChulcha says it's going to hurt. So they drop in. And then the Lion says, no, stay your hand, brother. And Curze drops to his knees in his chains, laughing in relief. He's like, oh, wait a minute. Oh, wait a minute. Actually, that was close. I was thinking, maybe my vision was wrong. And Sanguinius turns, the crimson fading from him. He's basically relaxed. And the Lion kind of says, do not slay Curze. The doors burst open. Invictus Terminators, basically the Sanguinary Guard, Space Wolf, and White Scars flood the hall. We haven't talked about White Scars yet, but they're here too now. Basically leveled at Lion and Holguin. And this guy, Dracus Gorod, says, drop your weapons. And they comply. And Holguin basically just says, drops the sword. He also drops the two broken shards of Lion Sword. And Gilman basically, explain yourself. What is all this magicness you teleport in here? And Lion says, we made a great mistake, brothers. He does not die here. And Lion says, yeah, I've heard that many times now. So then what? And he's like, yes, he doesn't die here because the Emperor sends assassin to kill him. Right, sure. He's like, okay then. So the Emperor cannot dispatch his assassin if he is dead. If Curze telling the truth, then the Emperor is alive. And Gilman's like, yeah, I guess. But what if the assassin's already out there just waiting? It doesn't necessarily prove your point. And Sanguinius like, well, wait a minute. I have also a vision of me dying in Horus's hand. But what if Horus dies then, before then? So then Horus can't be dead. Or, the Emperor can't be dead because then Horus would have won. All that different stuff. So it's kind of like they all have this different, like, little agreement. And Sanguinius says, to die in Horus's hand is a fate I gladly accept, if it means that the Emperor yet lives and fights for mankind. Basically saying, like, I because I will be at his side.
Mm-hmm.
The Emperor's side when I die. So there must be something there.
Right. Okay.
So Gilman then says, who will be Curze's jailer if no one is permitted to kill him? And the lion says, I plead your indulgence, brothers. I have acted in a shameful manner, and I deserve and ask for no forgiveness. I humbly request a chance to right such wrongs as I have committed. I will be Curze's keeper if you spare his life. And Gilman just stares at him, and he's just like the last person I want to have him. So he keeps looking back and forth between him and Sanguinius, and he basically like, but if the Emperor still lives, and Curze laughs, right, just really just loving it, as he does. And he's like, oh, yep, I guess I'm right, that I'm not going to die here. And basically, but also the irony of it is that the Emperor still lives, then the entire premise of Imperium Secundus, that the assumption that Terrathon the Emperor is dead is wrong. And if it's wrong, then Sanguinius is a pretender emperor, and Gilman built the pretender's empire while the real emperor sat there the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, that's kind of heretical.
Right.
So it's over, right? The Imperium Secundus is dissolved. Like, they didn't last long. I mean, I guess it lasted like a couple months, but like not very long.
Yeah.
So going back to Death Guard here, jumping a little bit here, all of a sudden Terminus S shows up. Terminus S is a Death Guard ship, and its hull is scarred with like huge gouges, just all beat up. It is debris just trailing behind it. It is not looking great. And then the following day, 5 more ships also show up of Callus Typhon's Grave Wardens, break warp behind the flagship, all carrying similar wounds. And Typhon is basically spent the last year locked in a running fight with Corswain of the Dark Angels, and it's been bad. It is not looking good for them, and the First Legion battle barge closing the position, and Typhon assumes his Corswain again come to finish the job. And then a hail comes through, basically open channel, and he doesn't quite recognize the face. Maybe he does a little bit, but it looks a little older, and he knows it immediately. And he says, welcome back to Zariman, old friend, and it's Luther. So Zariman is basically Luther. And we talked at the beginning, Typhon gave him that medallion. So now it's going to come full circle. He's basically letting the Death Guard hang out here for a minute. Now, Typhon is, he should be nasty. Is that his name, Typhon? Yes, Count Typhon.
Typhus.
Yes, he turns into Typhus,
Okay.
but he should be nasty. But I guess he still probably can talk and stuff. So maybe he's like still nasty and just hanging out.
Okay.
Because the whole like fly thing. Because that's the picture then with the thing. So maybe he's not like, I don't even think it's somebody else then. Who was the guy on Eisenstein? That was Typhon, wasn't it? Oh, Grulgor. Never mind. Yes, you're right. Typhus is fine. Grulgor is a nasty one. Okay. Yes, I'm mixing up my guys. So yes, Typhon is fine. Grulgor was a nasty guy because I was like, wait, how is he here if Grulgors are nasty? So in the episode Vengeful Spirit, when I talked about Typhon on the planet killing those people with the thing, I mean, that's a Typhon or is it Grulgor? No, Grulgor because he had the plague.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was Grulgor. Okay, I was right on that. Okay, I was mixing them up in my head though. Typhon and Grulgor. Yeah. Because things get weird for Typhon eventually. I'll say that much. Okay. So yes, Typhon comes back, and basically the lion Luther is like, yeah, you can hang out here. I'll get those guys off your back. So yes, and that's kind of where this ends. That's all I have for this. And yeah, so the lion is heading back to Caliban with Curze in the chains, but he doesn't know what he's coming back to. So 15,000 Space Marines kind of on his side. So, and then also Sanguinius and Guilliman, what are they going to do? Because they got to dissolve the whole thing and then kind of go back to Terra and get back there somehow. Because, the Lion can do it with TuChulcha, but it might be a little trickier for Guilliman and Lion.
Right.
So they're going to have to find a way to do that. But yeah, but that's all I got. Do you have any questions?
So with the Dark Angels, and I think we talked about it before, where there's kind of like in an earlier episode where there's a difference between the Dark Angels that are on Caliban and the ones that are kind of off with the Lion. Is
right.
I guess what exactly is the difference?
It's only like a nationality thing, really. Okay. Like some are taken from Caliban, and those are Calibanites. And there's ones that are from other planets that are still Dark Angels, but they're just from other planets. So they have no real loyalty to Caliban. But they can still be on the side of Caliban because they're like, yeah, that is a valid point. Very libertarian mindset, Okay. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And then, so it sounds like the Lion is going back to Caliban, but he is also of the mindset of like, oh, I need to reconcile with Caliban.
Well, yeah, go back to Caliban, get his guys together and be like, tell Luther, like, the Emperor is alive. We got to go help the Emperor. So we'll see how that goes for him. Because it's not going to be good.
Okay.
But I mean, he has a lot of guys with him too, though. I mean, 15,000 space is a lot, but he also has all of his guys that were there. I mean, I don't know if it's 15,000, but it's a lot.
Yeah. And so I guess the last thing is with Zahariel and like the Ouroboros thing and him becoming was it Lord Cypher? Is that kind of where that ends, or is there more to that kind of goes on?
I mean, it will when
I guess when
Lion gets there.
Yeah.
Because now, Zahariel is Lord Cypher. He has the powers of basically chaos, but not really. Warp powers from Ouroboros. And so he's in charge kind of in two ways. He's the Lord Cypher and also the strongest person on the planet. And he's also pretty mad at the Lion for killing his cousin for following the rules. So,
yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. So it's almost like a small scale version of Horus, right?
Right.
Except Horus was just really just Erebus being Erebus, giving him a fake vision, a bad ayahuasca trip. Whereas Luther at least has like a genuine, like, yeah, no, that is kind of crazy that he did that, you know?
Yeah.
Like, he has valid points.
Yeah. And it is interesting to see the kind of loyalist frameworks also not get along with each other. I knew like the Chaos ones with like, was it Perturabo and Fulgrim, like they, whatever, but loyalist ones also kind of.
Well, it's because the Lion is just so hard to get along with. Like, everybody gets along with Sanguinius, everybody gets along with Gilliman. Mostly some people like Gilliman because he's a little too, this is what the rules say.
Yeah.
But like he's even writing a rule book on how to like run the Astartes, like how to run a chapter or legion, stuff like that. He hasn't finished it yet, but he's working on it. So he's very just like that. And the Lion's just like, I'm gonna do my own thing. They're like, no, you have to follow the rules. Like, Sanguinius told Gilliman, hey, come back to Macragge, go find the Lion. Even Gilliman was like, oh, you're the Emperor, so I guess I have to. But the Lion would be like, yeah, I'll get around to it. It's just like, okay, like, do you listen to anybody? No. So yeah, you see a lot of it, even because next episode, let's see what next episode is going to be. Give the listeners a little preview here. Next episode, we're talking about White Scars finally. So we touched on a little bit in this episode. They were in Macragge somehow. But yeah, so we're going to touch on them, kind of see what they've been up to, because we have not talked with them at all. Jagatai Khan, and yeah, they're kind of stuck in their own situation. But similar thing to kind of give a little spoiler, similar thing with Luther, Caliban, the Lion. What if Horus has a good idea? Like, huh? What? So yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But anyways, yeah, that's this episode. And if that's all, then I guess we'll wrap it up there. If you guys like this one, the things like the video, subscribe, tell your friends, do all that stuff. And if you got this far, comment on who's more right, the Lion or Luther, or leave an emoji for engagement. That's what City Planner Play says, so I'm gonna say it too. But anyways, bye.